Hello and welcome to the Low Code Podcast. I'm Faraz Khan from iTrack, and we are the global specialists in OutSystems recruitment. With this podcast, our aim is to increase awareness and appreciation of OutSystems and its impact and benefits to the market, and our early adoption is giving competitive edge to businesses worldwide. During our podcast, myself and my colleague Sushil Chauhan will be speaking to IT leaders and OutSystems MVPs on how OutSystems has transformed their businesses and careers. We also hope that by speaking to MVPs on their career journeys, we can inspire developers from all over the world to learn from others who have already been on the path. So let's go. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Code Podcast. Today my guest is Cristiano Marques, Software Development Manager at Vopak and OutSystems MVP. How are you, Cristiano?
Hey, hello. First, how are you?
Good. So we were saying you're from Portugal, living in Netherlands, but currently talking from Switzerland.
Yes. Yeah. Europe is very small in that sense.
Of course.
We should go around when possible.
Of course. And you're there for the holidays.
Yeah. During summer we are here too. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So thanks for taking the time to speak to us. I know you're very busy, and we've been going back and forth for a while. So it'd be good to just start off with a bit of background about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a developer by nature. I've started developing since I can remember. Probably around 15 years old, I was already doing some things for video games, for websites, and for a lot of other stuff. And during that process, I grew to love to code. And of course, low code was not a dream back then. But during my journey from front-end development especially, and I've learned what was OutSystems from colleagues, from family even. They introduced me to you should look into that platform.
So it was one of your family members who told you about this?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So were they already working with OutSystems then?
Now, actually, not to go very deep, but basically they somehow actually studied with people that currently are in management position in OutSystems, cool. And he told me, you should look into that platform. Looks promising. And of course, I was back then working as a front-end development for a company in the US as a part-time job, and I applied to as an OutSystems developer for OutSystems in Proença Nova, and which is one of their offices, and managed to get in. And from then, basically projects and learning a lot of learning. Yeah, a lot of good mentors that I can, of course, that taught me everything to get started and very fast, and that helped me to be where I am today for sure.
Amazing. So you started. So your first job with OutSystems was directly with OutSystems then?
Yeah, as a consultant back then. Yeah, okay, definitely. Right. On interesting projects to start off right off the bat.
Yeah, that's great. So then you moved on to Vopak. So you decided to relocate to the Netherlands. How did that? How did you kind of make that decision?
Yeah, I was working for Vopak in this replacement of the RP, and seeing this through in production was always something I wanted, because that was not the case back then. We were setting it up, and I actually decided to go to the Netherlands for another company, but luckily Vopak and OutSystems sorted out that I could continue. Yeah. And due to that, I managed to fulfill this thing of bringing something this big to production, and from that one, as a tech lead, I helped the development teams, and later on we decided the department kept growing, and I kept taking other responsibilities on the department.
Sure. Yeah, and speaking about Vopak, do you just want to tell us a bit about what Vopak does?
Yeah, Vopak is in the very independent storage industry, so it's not very common to have, but storage, yes, but not as an independent company, which put us in a position where we can have been learning throughout these years a lot of different sectors of a lot of different products in the market, let's put it that way. and but also kept reinventing the company as it goes. And now we are in the IT sector, building our own TMS, and we just of course we did throughout the years realized that we've been building something that is very, very good for compared to the market, and that became an asset for Vopak as well.
Sure. So before we kind of speak about you were talking about the ERP system, and obviously they adopted OutSystems as their low-code preferred low-code option. Do you want to just give a little, your version of a rundown of what's low-code?
Yeah, definitely. Low code for me is an accelerator of technology. Is a way for us to bring to this complicate and a concept that is better to buy instead of build. That's something that Vopak gladly took the decision, and that means that in reality you tend to spend less time developing and you're more time with business and understanding the business, and stop trying to be at least the least possible a robot that just codes. And
Sure,
that's the big advantage, in my opinion, is the fact that we can do much more in less time. We should of course focus a lot of on quality, and the tool has been gradually increasing their awareness of this. That big factories such as Vopak need a bit more than the usual scaffolding application, but also that our developers can grow with the business, and the business can grow with the technology, and these are organically happens without having to force people to become something else than a developer or than a lead developer.
Sure. And I read that you guys originally started with using OutSystems, and then now you have about 60 of your own, is it? 60 developers?
Yeah, 6 developers that there was in case. When I joined, we were roughly between 8 to 9 developers. And we are currently just in the product. We have 12 development teams, so that's around 30 people. This is just a product, and we even have more teams taking care of the B2C applications and some other small applications, or even we even now decide to replace our CRM application and made our own. And we've been not exponentially growing, but I would say organically.
That's great. It's probably good for you to, when you joined, there was 8, to see that, to be part of that process of the team growing, like going in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. I think here it was a very good time. Of course, it made sense for us and for me. But I joined to be a developer and
sure.
organically moved to something else.
Yes.
But also for Vopak, it was a lot about trusting in the right people.
Sure.
So they from my IT director, from my CIO, they knew that they had people that had the right ideas to put things into motion, and they helped us organically grow to a comfortable situation where we can fulfill the development needs, basically.
Did when we tend to speak to a lot of customers about their recruitment, did Vopak take the approach of hiring external developers and then training them, or some customer we found, they trained up, they looked at their existing staff, such as business analysts or guys from other tech stacks, and trained them up internally?
Initially, I think from the first 6 that were in the DevOps department, which is the department responsible, some were trained from other stacks. Eventually, we took the approach of course, because things were growing quite fast. We had some partners that was with us that helped us on this journey.
Noesis, isn't it?
Noesis, exactly. And that's the biggest one. But organically, we wanted to reach a point where we had a good ratio. So during the last, especially 2 to 3 years, we made investments. We actually set up new offices in Portugal, even to accommodate that. If you want to hire locals, we just opened a second one this year.
Wow.
And the idea is to have a good ratio of internal versus external. This, once again, to rephrase that for us, business knowledge is very important. We want to have people that know Vopak from heart,
Understand. Yeah, sure.
and can look to a requirement, challenge it to become even better. And I think that's how we build a very good TMS, is to have people that challenge even our own requirements functionally,
Sure.
to make it even more smarter and better.
Great. And yeah, talking about, you mentioned the ERP implementation. That's a project you were involved in. Can you talk about that and any kind of other projects you guys have been working on, which is really like using OutSystems, how that has added a bit of value to you guys?
Yeah, we are still in this journey. It's going to be a journey that is going to end in probably 2 years. We are discussing that we need to replace 60 terminals around the world. And from this is core. This is not like you have some portals that use OutSystems. This is the terminal stops if this application doesn't work, and the terminal works with this application. And for it, everything from backend to front end, OutSystems, and there's of course other technologies in the middle which are natural. But this means that it's a huge investment from us to implement as well. So we are gradually implementing based on features and based on the also pipelines that we set up of CI/CD that allows it to continually go to production, enable terminals as we go. And this allowed us also to become much more agile. So imagine we started with a huge waterfall approach where we maybe went to production every 8 months, and we had a very extensive training and testing to make sure that we could accommodate the first terminal, to now a completely different approach. We go to production every sprint or every 2 sprints, and the terminals, when are ready, they actually themselves use the application. So it's a completely different approach, all about learnings of development, of how to use the platform in the best way. And it's going to end, well, it's going to end for the 60 planned terminals at least in 2 years. But yeah, if we keep expanding, who knows which other terminals
we can get it done.
Yeah, and which other terminals we can even expand to, maybe even outside of Vopak.
Yeah, sure. And you spoke about also you're looking to, is it redo your CRM system as well, is it?
Yeah, this basically is the arrival to depart and order to cash process, let's say, which is basically the core. And then, of course, this all connects to customers, right? It's we had our own CRM system, and also in the same approach that we realize our process can be even fine-tuned with our own customizations. Vopak also decided to replace the CRM system with OutSystems application.
Okay, great. And in regards to the pandemic's kind of still around, did that kind of have a big effect on you guys at all?
It had effects, of course, in the companies, all the companies that had. Maybe implementation-wise, also we had to learn to implement in terminals in a very different way. We had to learn how to work with the developers and testers. This is a big project, so it was of course much easier to just have some people here and there. But because we gradually started to set up having people elsewhere, in Portugal or in Rotterdam or at home, this combination always allows us in the development teams to be to accommodate these situations. That therefore the development and the testing was not that heavily affected as maybe other companies.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if you guys would say, but there were some companies at the beginning who weren't so much used to remote working, so it was a bit of kind of getting to know the process. But I think now everybody's happy with remote working, and it works quite well.
Most especially development and testers are quite happy with the flexibility, definitely.
Yeah, sure. And you said you guys have opened now a second office. Is that in Portugal?
Yeah, we have 2 offices now in Portugal in the central area. We decided to not to have to join the big crowded areas as Porto and Lisbon. So we are actually in Castelo Branco and Coimbra, so 2 very central regions. And there we are also organically expanding and trying to be involved with the ecosystem. Once again, also trying to get juniors from high school even to see if we can show them the technology and put them in this path of learning OutSystems as well. So it's a bit of a entrepreneurship on the IT sector that we're also taking.
It's funny. It's good that you said. Like my next question from that would be, how do you kind of find that process convincing kind of graduates to take a career in OutSystems and low code?
It's very different, the approach, if you compare Portugal to the Netherlands. Portugal, especially in these two regions, the platform already has a brand of its own, so that helps us a lot. And Castelo Branco and Coimbra are very, of course, as long with Lisbon, but Lisbon, you have much other companies that are on different stacks even. But in Castelo Branco being close to Prince Novo, one of the offices of OutSystems, and Coimbra being also closer as well, there, I think that region organically already has awareness in the university about there is a low code platform that is very, very in high demand in the market.
And it's Portuguese.
And it's Portuguese as well, of course, but also that that sometimes bring different type of developers that in the past would lean to other stacks. Now, I think this pleases a lot of those type of developers as well. So it is, of course, a lot of demand. So a lot of people are trying the same. But we organically have been able to get people on board. Some of them already know the platform, and we had a few that learn with us. So that's
And how's that process been in the Netherlands?
It's been very, very tough to get people on board. I think the Netherlands is become a very competitive market because it's the second one with most developers at the moment. And the very, very, very good companies that want people. So it's more tough. But when we find the right people, we always hire them.
Yeah, sure. We find that, you know, in the UK and even we do a lot in the US that, you know, graduates can be a bit more difficult to convince. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do the podcast, just to kind of create that awareness and talk to people like yourself who have, you know, you went from a front end developer to, you know, you've had a long career now in OutSystems, and it's only getting a lot bigger. It's not, you know, it's not going away. And it's very well known now compared to even a few years ago.
Yeah, if I analyze the market and I can see it became a very disruptive in even some regions in the world, especially in Portugal. You are going to start seeing a big discrepancy even in the salaries, because OutSystems is it's for especially now everyone works remote, so there's even companies in the US and then everywhere in the world that just pay whatever they want because it makes sense for them. And
I go through this process all the time. We have a lot of guys from Portugal who, because of remote working, they know if you work for international companies, the salaries are a lot bigger than, you know, than they can get in Portugal. So there's a big kind of demand. If we do roles, if we ever post a role for Netherlands, UK, Middle East or North America, and we put remote, there's a lot of applications compared to if we're hiring for customers in Portugal. But sorry, go on.
No, that's going to be an organic evolution. But it has, of course, social influences, I think, in a region or in a country. And we'll need to see how it evolves for the rest of the IT sector.
Yeah, sure. I think at the moment there's a shortage in nearly every technology worldwide when it comes to candidates.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how we go from here. We will need a lot of different stacks, and if everyone, of course, joins OutSystems, we will still need integration, and we will still need the architect. We need everything. It's not just about this platform, but how this platform is growing, not low code as a whole, and how the directions even for no code are going to lead up to different organic flows in the market.
You know, talking about, you know, going back to the projects you're working on, and you know, you've kind of been in Netherlands for a while now, and you're also an MVP, so you're always well aware of probably the updates before everybody else. Have any of those kind of updates really helped your project? And if so, kind of
definitely.
Which ones would you say were kind of the really game changers for you guys that you thought, okay, this is really going to help our project?
Yeah, definitely. Fortunately, I cannot mention them per se because most of them are still under NDA.
Okay, sure.
But it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely something that it's very, very good to see that that the platform is listening, and that a lot of people in OutSystems are making the right effort, especially to accommodate big factories such as Vopak. And because it's a different paradigm than the one from citizen developer. That's not per se what we are here doing.
Yeah.
And some tools, some EAPs, some people can join, of course. Some EAPs we have joined, some we have successfully implemented, and some we are very looking forward to as well.
Yeah.
Which will accelerate even more our test quality, especially.
Sure. Okay. And yeah, I usually get that answer that, you know, like people aren't allowed to say too much about things. But just for you personally, what would you say have been some of the kind of key features that you think that have been released over the years? Because you've been using OutSystems for quite a long time. What version did you start using OutSystems on?
I started on version 7, but
Okay.
very short time. Most of the 8 and 9 was my journey.
Okay.
And then of course, yeah, 10 and 11. But I would say for me the biggest change after, of course, native is of course React. React is definitely a technology that has a lot to offer, and a stack that has a lot to offer, especially in terms of tweaks of performance and how you deal with data fetching. And especially because I truly believe that in the future we'll go back to take more and more advantage of the client side and of the computer that everyone has at home, because they will just become more powerful, and we'll be able to reduce the bottlenecks of connectivity, of server loads and all of that by taking advantage of an hybrid situation. And that is the one of the biggest advantages that of course the stack offers. And we have been actually very successfully managed to, even in this big project, gradually replace even screens from traditional to React.
Right.
And we even have completely without the user knowing. So we went through a very extensive project, which I've shared a bit as well with the ambassadors in OutSystems. That allowed us to go live with screens in React. The user doesn't see any difference, and just takes the benefit from the performance or the changes that we did during those performance tweaks, while at the same time we take advantage of killing technical debt and all of that in the process. So it's a combination that we are doing with the product to be able to look, because we are developing this product for 8 years. So of course there's technical debt, and we fight those two things at the same time: features, React, technical debt. We do here a bit of an extra work to make these three combine in the new screen, and we bring the new technology stack. And of course the developers will have to work on whatever it's newest. So that also brings makes us have happy developers, which is always needed.
Yeah, and I think it's always obviously, you know, I saw you're quite active on the community, and I think the community, you know, with all the suggestions that people make, it's good that they like you said, they take that into account and really try to implement those things for the developers.
Yeah, well, in the community, I've been much more closely to the R&D and product than the community as a whole. We have amazing MVPs that are very knowledgeable in the community and are on top of the case. Now with the champions also becomes much more spread the workflow.
Yeah, a lot more people around. Yeah.
And this is amazing effort from OutSystems. It makes total sense. But that also makes me do what I prefer, which is to be closer to the R&D and to the product management of OutSystems, to be able to see what comes that makes sense for us.
Yeah, sure. And you know, one thing we we like to kind of ask all the people we speak to is, you know, like I said, like you said, in Netherlands it's a bit more difficult to get people compared to Portugal, for example. So, you know, what would kind of be your message to, you know, those kind of haters of low code and OutSystems to kind of give it a go?
think that the biggest advice I give, and I give to everyone that is deciding on this path, is how much they want to be closer to the product that they are about to deliver. It's in the end, everyone is going to deliver the lines of code that is related to the drag and drops we do, or to the actual code we write. And in the end, there will always be code that you need to write, whether JavaScript, CSS, or actually an extension.NET. So it'll go back to the roots when you need to. But the biggest difference is how much are you understanding of the business, so that you can challenge to have a better product. So we are discussing a journey and a change that actually the product owner now has much more people where he trusts, that are the developers as well, that are there to challenge back a requirement, to challenge back, what does this make sense, or can we make it even better? And it's no longer about picking a user story and just writing what is there. That's not what we want in Vopak. We want people that help to make a better Vopak through the software, of course.
They can be involved a lot more into the process of everything.
Yeah, that is key for us.
Yeah, of course. And my final question would be, what's your thoughts on the future of just low code in general? Where do you see things going? Your opinion on things?
That's a very good question. There's going to be a line where I need to see whether no code is going to actually replace no code. Of course,
sure.
I don't see that at the moment. I see more and more as a helper and as an assistant of the developer. But in the end, at least in these core businesses of enterprise, and where we are building a customized solution that only works works very customized for us, for Vopak, and for our needs. Having a developer build exactly what makes sense for us is going to be something that it's going to take years for no code to replace. Low code is going to keep evolving to make things easier, especially in the parts where it currently doesn't. So better logging, better monitoring, better unit testing, better testing framework as a whole, and all of that will eventually be embedded in this to become to have basically CI/CD pipeline set up as from the start. So the dream will be that not only we have lifetime to deploy, but actually we have the whole CI/CD platform integrated, and everything runs through OutSystems as a company. Or that's what I would do if I were them. But I think it will come eventually, even customized or not by people. But that's what we need right now.
And you think the long term would be everything would eventually move to no code?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'll ever see that. I'm not sure if I'll ever see that. I think the thought process behind a developer's mind will always be needed, even if no code is going to be in the case. But if I go back to a big application and I see how can I make this production ready, it's still right now it's still not even low code, it's code.
Yeah, sure.
You need to go back to a very good experienced DBA. You need to go back to a very experienced developer to make up an application scale to thousands of users instead of just make it work. So that's maybe the final tricks. Maybe we'll just become expert developers, and those are the ones that are tweaking the application. But we'll see what the future holds.
Time will tell. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, great. It was great to speak to you, Cristiano. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much for the invite.
Hopefully we can meet someday in the future. And you're in Netherlands, so next step tends to be in Netherlands. So when things go hopefully back to normal, we can meet up, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it.
Right. Nice talking to you.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Low Code Podcast, hosted by iTrack, Global OutSystems Recruitment Specialist. Be sure to subscribe, and see you next time.